morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back. Glad you made it. It's another So-So production. We're out here. We're on the corner of Yonge and Church Street, Yonge Street. Amongst the youngest of streets. I'm pretty sure there are younger streets out there, but this is probably the first and one of the OGs of Yonge streets. But you know, it's one of the biggest, one of the longest, and we're here again at Yonge and Church doing another outdoor sesh. Hope you're all safe and sound. It is again Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. Behind me, I don't know if it's getting recorded or not, but you'll see hundreds, if not thousands, maybe millions of pigeons out on the street claiming the sidewalks. So we can't be erratic, we can't make any sudden movements. We don't want them to get up and start flapping their little wings around us. Or maybe we will, I don't know. How have you guys been doing? Hope you're all been doing well. What have I been up to, man? What have I been up to? Keep it loosey-goosey. I'll tell you what, man. I've been walking around the streets trying to find a decent spot, and here we are, a little bit away from our place of residence, but nonetheless, we're gonna kick butt and take names anyways. What's on the agenda for today, you're asking? Oh, so many things are happening in and around this world, but let's go back to Monday evening. What happened Monday evening, man? I was dreaming at one point when I was sleeping, as I normally do. I hope this is getting recorded, by the way. There's a ton of cars passing by, a lot of extra noise. Anyways, man, I was dreaming, and it was really random. It was a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I got catapulted into a realm when I caught myself having a picnic. Beautiful picnic, but it was a family picnic. It was a family barbecue of sorts. It wasn't familiar for me though. It was all the family members. I gotta time myself too, because you never know when somebody's driving by or cruising by with a loud vehicle or a motorcycle revving their engines. But nonetheless, man, we're gonna plow through this bad boy. So I'm out there dreaming in the dream world and catch myself at a family picnic. And the family was 4 or 5 people sitting around the table that were mostly, it's related to the next day, so bear with me a few seconds. We'll try to make sense of it together, okay? It's a family of 4 or 5 people that were all, I want to say they were African Canadians or African Americans or black people. And it was one of the first times that I can actually recollect seeing different types of people I never really pay attention to the race and ethnicity, but it was just like me and a family of 4 or 5 people sitting there about to have a barbecue, and I didn't really get a chance to listen to hear what they're saying, but it was kind of odd. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, this is my family for sure. Let's picnic together. Let's have a little pick together. We picnicked, and then I dipped, and then it was morning time, and then I got up, did my usual morning workout routine. What did I do on Tuesday morning when I woke up? I did the chesticles, 2 sets of 50s, 2 sets of 50s. We did a little bit of push-ups. We did 100 calf raises, then we followed that with 75 sit-ups, but that's aside the point. At around 10:05 in the morning, 10 a.m., not to be mistaken with the p.m., at 10 a.m. I decided to go for a walk, and right beside my place of residence there is a large church. Now, love this church. I've never actually attended inside. It looks really marvelous and magnificent from the outside, but as I was about to walk by, I always walk by, pay my respects to the Lord, continue on walking, but I noticed somebody yelling, somebody screaming. They're like, "Hey, you, sir!" Caught my attention, so I had to remove my headphones, and I looked over my shoulder, and there was a young male sitting on the grass, on the patch of grass that's situated on the outside of the church building, and he said, "Can I have 2 minutes of your time?" And he was yelling and screaming at different people, and I looked around and nobody was paying him any attention, so I decided to you know what, let me invest 2 minutes of my time in this young man's life, and we can exchange some communication and perhaps build a relationship of sorts, whatever it may be. He asked me what I did. I told him I'm a content creator and somewhat of an artist, if you will, whatever it is, what it is. And he chuckled and laughed, and I asked him what it is that he does, and he was just like, He didn't seem like he was in the best mental health condition, or maybe I'm mistaken. That's just the impression that I got. But he said he's here. I asked him what he wants to do here, what he's up to, and he said he's here to enlighten people. And I said, cool beansies. And then we continued talking, and in the midst of it, a lot of it wasn't, I wasn't really able to make out the core message of what he was trying to say. But at the end of the day, I saw somebody that maybe needed a few minutes of attention, and I decided to allocate a bit of time just to hear his story. So this young gentleman wanted to basically enlighten the world, and my heart went out, man. My heart went out, because at the end of the day, I couldn't really do much but to give him a few minutes of my time. But he also, in the midst of talking, he's also asking me to teach him how to listen, which was kind of strange, because I've never had anybody ask me to teach them how to listen. But I just chuckled and laughed, and I said, well, we've all got ears, we can all listen. And he responded by another chuckle and laughter, a lot of ha ha, and we carried on for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we parted ways. That's the end of that story. Didn't really go anywhere, but it was really random. But at the end of the day, like, sticking that with my, combining that experience with the dream that I had, I can only come up with one message. What was the message of my dream, and what was the message of that interaction? And the message of the interaction and the dream was that, yes, we're all a big family. It doesn't really matter what you look like. It doesn't really matter what your background is, your race, ethnicity. We love each other in this city, and that's what it is, man. Just trying to spread a little bit more love, a little bit more consideration for one another. And here we are, man, sharing this little space. Excuse me, sharing this little space with these pigeons. They're kicking it like rock stars. You guys see these bad boys? Look at them. It's so beautiful. I hope it's getting recorded, because if it's not, this will look really awkward in the conversation that you're listening to later on. If I'm talking about pigeons and it's not getting recorded, if you can't visually see the pigeons, you're wondering if I'm making it up. But I assure you, there are tons of pigeons chilling, relaxing, maxing, and shooting b-ball outside of school. Besides the point, that's not the point. The point is that we're trying to spread love and be a part of the community at the end of the day. And yesterday evening, I was just at home browsing through the news just to see what's up, what's going on the streets of Toronto, what's going on in different neighborhoods, and I came across a video, and it was basically depicting a clash between some people who have been camping in Trinity Bellwoods Park because they've hit some hard times. They don't have a place to be situated, so they're camping at Trinity Bellwoods. And there was the police officers were called in. They had to go there and remove the encampments, and there was a clash between the public and the police officers. That's no bueno. But at the end of the day, we got to figure something out, which, right now it's like, this is the city of construction, man. This is the city of, if any city knows how to build things, it's Toronto. We've always got buildings going on, man. It's our extracurricular activity. No matter what's happening in and around the city, we've always got that building going on, which is super nice. It means that we're building places of residence for people, but at the same time, we do need to consider building places of residence for those who are a little bit less fortunate, and for those who have fallen through hard times. And I don't know what the solution is. Maybe part of the solution, well, I can offer you a few ideas, but one idea that wasn't working clearly, it was the clash of the police officers and the residents of the camps. Now, I don't have a clear-cut solution as to what we're supposed to be doing with this problem, but I'm seeing a lack of leadership and a lack of proper rhetoric, proper discourse, proper laws, proper action needed to actually tackle these issues. Because what do we do? It's not just 1, 2, 3, 10 people. We're not talking about dozens of people. We're talking about thousands of people in Canada today. If you're fortunate enough to have a roof over your head, there are roughly 250,000 residents, Canadian residents, that are going to sleep every night without a proper roof over their head. And what are we to do? So I saw the clash between the police officers and the residents of the camp, and it didn't end well. It didn't end well for the residents. I think they got evicted, they have a little bit of time to pack up their belongings and bounce like Tigger. But I don't know what the problem is, because I don't know what the solution is, because out of all the people that were camping, only a handful of them have decided to actually go into these shelters that the city's providing, and a lot of complaints are being brought to our attention, and these facilities that are provided are just not sufficient enough. It's dehumanizing. It's not a it's not a permanent solution essentially to this long-going problem. Basically, we're telling people to go into shelters, and these shelters are not safe. And many of these, a lot of the people on the streets, a lot of the people that are camping out there feel that they're safer if they were to just camp on the streets. Now, that's not the solution either. So what are we to do? I don't know. Let's go loosey-goosey on this bad boy. Let's toss out a few ideas, and let's see. I want to hear you guys. I want to see what you guys are thinking. Let's tackle it together. All right. First and foremost, going to the officers. If you come in contact with somebody camping outside somewhere where they're not supposed to, and you want to tackle this issue, you want to wrap it up, you want to clean the city, you want to serve and protect, you want to be serving and protecting, you want to be serving and you want to be protecting. So that's what you're there to do. And who do you serve and who do you protect? That's a great question. But one way that you could, a lot of these people, a lot of the people who are actually facing homelessness, they were resisting. So, a lot of times there was just pushback, a lot of pushback from the officers, a lot of pushback from the residents, and tossing out ideas out there for you guys. Why don't you go ahead, and again, I'm just tossing out ideas. Don't hold me accountable for this, but if you're just, if push comes to shove, shove comes to push, and they're not moving, you could use water guns, you could use water hoses, you could definitely taser people. Tasering people always works. You definitely don't want to go for the draw the gun. That's a little bit premature, but tasering helps. Put people in a little zap. Just give them a little shock, and that'll get people moving. That's definitely one solution. Thinking outside the box, just tossing out ideas. Comes down to implementation. I'll leave that up to you folks. But like I said, the problem is that only a handful of all these people decided to seek the shelters that was provided for them by the city. The rest of them are just gonna find their own ways of accommodation. I don't know what that is. I mean, we're just sweeping the dirt under the rug at this point. Where are they gonna go? I mean, if they could already find their own places of residence, I think that they would have already come up with a solution. So that's not the answer. What are we to do? And I'm just reading different articles trying to figure out what's the best solution, or at least one of the best solutions that we can go ahead and tackle this big housing market issue that we're all facing in one shape or form. Now, I happen to be amongst one of the lucky ones that I can pay rent. I'm fortunate enough that I've got family members that are looking out. I've got friends that are looking out, but a lot of people on the streets don't have the infrastructure there to help them get uplifted and find our way back into the groove of life. So what are we to do? Are we to just keep on repeating the same old, tell them to go into these temporary housing situations where they're not feeling comfortable, where they're actually feeling more threatened? Is that the solution? I doubt it. So what are we to do? One thing that we could do is actually provide affordable housing, and this doesn't actually mean keep building condos and keep jacking up prices, because this is the trend. This is what we just keep doing. And a little while ago, just when the pandy started, a lot of people thought that there's going to be an exodus from large cities, and to a certain degree that is true. A lot of people have left their places of residence further outwards into the suburbs in hopes of finding more accommodating and more affordable housing, whether it's renting or buying a little piece of property. But even those places are, again, I'm reading articles, I'm reading news articles, even those places are becoming increasingly more expensive and out of reach for a lot of people. Basically, right now, when it comes down to it, if it doesn't really matter how much you're making, if you want to acquire a piece of land in the Toronto area, in the GTA, the best chance that you'll have at acquiring a piece of land is through some sort of an inheritance. So if you don't have that rich daddy or rich mama, you kind of got a problem. So what are we to do with all these people without the rich mamas and rich daddies? Do we just tell them to go find their own ways, find their own methods of housing, and what are they to do? Sorry, I gotta increase my volume as different types of vehicles come drive by. I hope this was all getting recorded. I hope that this is not just me mouthing a bunch of words and you guys not hearing anything at the end of the day. What are we to do? I did not see any proper response from the mayor, Mayor John Tory. A little disappointed, man, a little disappointed, not gonna lie. A little disappointed in the way we're conducting ourselves, and it goes from the top down. A little bit concerned about the actions or lack of actions from the Prime Minister, a little bit of concern from a lack of action from the different premiers. Here I can only speak about Dougie Ford because we're here in Ontario. Different provinces, I'm sure, facing similar situations as well. But I'm asking you guys genuinely, what are we to do? Man to man, person to person, what are we to do? Are we to just tell these people that they should go out there and find their own methods of finding housing? Don't you think that they've had ample amounts of time? If they could have done so, they would have already done so. What are we to do? I don't know what the solution is, but the skyrocketing prices in the GTA are not the answer. The speculation is not the answer. The putting of all of our eggs into one basket for making money, called the housing market, that is not the answer. I'm just wondering, and I'm asking questions. Nobody wants to be in a situation where they're forced to be living on the streets. I'm not gonna go out there and tell you a story about myself that's not true, but I have faced a situation, a very short circumstance, a very short period of my life where I was uncertain where I'm gonna be staying for at least 3 days to a week, where I wasn't sure where I'm gonna be staying or living. This was back when I was 19 or 20 years old, and it was really rough. But I was lucky enough to have, again, people in my life who helped me out, so I didn't have to, you know, hit rock bottom, you know what I'm saying? So I could actually pull myself up with the help of family members, friends, loved ones. But again, a lot of people on the streets don't have those same luxuries that most of us get to enjoy. It includes family members, friends, communities, proper jobs, access to healthcare, access to mental health care, and all sorts of things that goes into shaping and forming what it means to be a relatively balanced human being, so you can go out there and start contributing to society. What are we to do? Are we to just tell people that tough noogies, you should go out there and basically pull yourself up by the bootstrap, which is basically a myth, because if you deconstruct and if you unpack that saying, pulling yourself up by the bootstrap is literally impossible. If you were to pull yourself up off of the bootstraps, you're gonna fail every time. I'm a definite believer of hard work and discipline, but a lot of times there's a lot of basic necessities that needs to go into place so that people can actually get to the place where they can help themselves. I don't think public housing is the answer. I honestly don't think shelters are the answer. I think we should close this gap between the renters and the owners. I think everybody should be able to own a little piece of land that they can call their own, so that they can get inside every evening, close the doors, shut the windows closed, feel safe and secure, concentrate on their well-being and concentrate on what it takes to actually get them to the place where they need to be, whether that's taking care of their physical health, mental health, whether they need to be going out there, advancing their education, going out there, acquiring jobs, being active, being an active member of society. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm just asking questions. What are we to do? Are we just, because this is just gonna lead to another clash. We just saw this happen a few months ago. It happened again last night at Trinity Bellwoods Park. Again, and it's unfortunate because I feel bad for the police officers who actually have to go out there and start getting into clashes with the public. They're there to be serving and protecting and fighting the most vulnerable members of our society is not the answer. And putting 5 people in a shelter and just telling the rest of them to figure it out is not the answer. in a land of resources, in a land of opportunities, in a land of people who genuinely care about each other. A lot of people genuinely care about each other in Toronto. It's a multicultural city, it's a multicultural nation here in Canada that we're living in. And this issue is actually something that a lot of large cities across the globe are facing. Down in the US, our neighbors are facing similar circumstances in large cities in LA, in San Diego, in San Francisco, in New York, in different places in Texas, in Austin. There's a ton of people facing homelessness, and these are places that are close to my heart, that I can speak about, that I can relate to. But this is happening on a global basis, on a daily, but I can't control what's going on all the way across the globe. You probably can't control what's going on all the way across the globe, but we can all take a little bit and help together. So what are we to do? The police officers, like I said, if you're having more trouble, go for the tasers, go for the water guns, go for the hoses. If they're resisting, go for a water hose. Really push them to the ground. They're probably not that strong, really probably not getting all the exercise, all the nutrients that you and I are getting. They're probably lacking a lot of resources. So if you really want to tackle it and nip it in the bud, kick them to the ground while they're down. Or you could think of alternative ways. You could think of allocating money instead of lending it to more bureaucracy and more people just taking big paychecks to solve problems and actually pass the buck. We can actually allocate this money and the resources that we've got and face these challenges head on instead of just sweeping it under the rug. Pack it up. It doesn't belong here. Out of sight, out of mind. That's the mentality that we're saying. Like, what are we to do? What are we to do? I'm asking the mayor, I'm asking the premier, I'm asking the prime minister, what are we to do about these unaffordable housing market that we're all faced with? When an average house in Toronto costs at least $800,000, things have gone out of hand, and it's only going to increase and it's only going to get worse if we don't take action. Who's responsible? I don't see the people on the streets as being the part of the problem. I see them as a symptom of the problem. Why don't we tackle the issue at its root? Why don't we question our banking system? Why don't we look at ways of actually uplifting people? Why do we have so many people falling into different forms of debt and being unable to get out and hindering human growth and potential with sheer numbers and digits? Why are we playing this number game with human lives? It's so easy to just stand there and be like, well, no, the police officers, they're acting accordingly and swiftly to take care of the mess. My heart goes out because those guys are just taking paychecks. Those guys are just taking paychecks and they're following orders. But at one point, do we learn from our mistakes? What point do we actually go ahead and help each other out instead of just saying, no, this is not my problem, this is not my son, this is not my daughter, this is not my mom, this is not my aunt, this is not my dad, this is not my uncle, this is not my brother on the streets. That's a stranger, and we gave you the basics, now go deal with it. Try spending a day in somebody else's shoes. Go to these shelters. Speak with the people on the streets. Why won't they want to go to the shelters? These shelters most often are populated with people who are facing difficult circumstances, whether it's trauma, different types of trauma, people who have faced childhood trauma, people who have faced trauma throughout their adult life, people who have been victims of just a unfortunate circumstance. And we should stop looking at these issues and problems as something that's otherworldly, as something that doesn't belong to you and me, as if it's something that doesn't impact you and me, because it really does. If we keep sweeping it under the rug, it's just going to manifest from one part of the location, one part of the city to another part of the city. So if it's not Trinity Bellwoods today, where will it be tomorrow? I'm seeing more and more rise in homelessness near my place of residence, and I'm not even in the downtown core area. I've seen people whenever I drive into the suburbs. I see homelessness even occur in the suburbs of the GTA. What is going on? Is this a case of just a few bad apples? Is this a case of a few lazy individuals? Is this a case of a few people who are just unwilling to work or be members of society? I hardly doubt it. Because when you actually go onto the streets, when you actually do talk to people, they're just like you and I. There's really no difference. Put in 5 minutes, put in 10 minutes, put in an hour with somebody on the streets, then you'll know that there are millions of people with wonderful stories, so many great things to contribute to our society, but they're getting, for different reasons, sidelined, ostracized, pushed to the side, pushed to the corner, and we're just treating it like it's an us versus them situation. I'm asking for people to pitch in together. Let's solve this issue, at least in our locality. Let's get rid of, why can't we get rid of poverty? Simple question. I'll leave it up to you guys. And we're all gonna do our little part, but it takes everybody's little efforts. And this is not a, we're not gonna find an easy solution, but I think that's part of the problem. We've always been looking for an easy solution. Sweeping under the rug, getting people to move from one place to another is not the answer. Temporary housing, shelters are not the answer. People need places of residence where they can rest assured that they're not going to be hounded on a week-to-week or on a month-to-month basis, or just a roof over their head. It breaks my heart because at the end of the day, when I did spend 5 to 10 minutes yesterday with that young gentleman on the street, it's evident that he's asking for help. It's evident that he's seeking assistance, but there's only so much that individuals can do, but there's a lot that we can do collectively, and it comes from everybody working together. That's why I want to see, actually, like, when there's next time there's a talk of elections, next time there's a talk of constituents, different districts, people getting behind you to vote for you. What are you doing to actually take care of the problems that are affecting everyday people? Everybody, not just the people that are okay, not just the people that are well off, not just the people that can afford to have a job, not just the people that can afford to have access to health care, access to mental health resources, and these things, you know, we're all dependent on each other. I cannot stress this enough. So I'm asking, what is the solution? Because what I saw yesterday in the news, and Mayor John Tory coming in saying that the police officers have acted correctly, breaks my heart, because I feel bad for the police officers who have to go out there and enforce those laws. I also feel terrible for the people that are actually on the streets and have no place to live but under a tent. And here in Canada, we're lucky to be enjoying 5-6 months of summer, or spring rather, but the rest of the year it's freezing cold. Do you know how many people die every year because of a lack of support, because of a lack of proper amenities? And these are things that could be tackled. Houses should not be costing millions of dollars. This is something that we need to tackle globally. We need to refocus our energy, redirect our focus away from the concept of building money or mass fortunes from land ownership, because at the end of the day it becomes this unrealistic game that the majority of people cannot play. The game is rigged to only benefit the multi-millionaires, the landowners, the ones who have already gotten their cushions in the bank accounts. And I just want to see a little bit more. That's all I just wanted to say for today. I'll leave it be. And we're going to come back here again, not this particular location, but we're going to be back here again. It's been another Glad You Made It episode. It's another So-So production. If you like these videos, do what you want to do. Talk about it, like it, hit like on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Go ahead, search Rob Sadri on YouTube so you can get the full-length videos. And if you want to contribute in any shape or form, this is an independent project. Although there's different people in different forums pitching in, helping, family members, friends. trying to do this pretty much as independently as I can. So any way you'd like to help is highly appreciated. You can go to Patreon and support your boy. We'll be back here again on Friday and Saturday, specifically for the Patreon edition. In the meantime, stay safe, but also think about some solutions out there. We'll talk soon. Peace out.